The biggest news this week came from a tweet from @GoogleAds on Twitter.
Oh, they're tweeting again.
I know. Crazy. Well, I think nobody wanted to claim this. So if it's Google Ads, you're not yelling at a specific person. So the tweet says, starting June 30th, 2022, responsive search ads will be the only search ad type that can be created or edited in standard search campaigns. Existed expanded text ads will still serve. That's important. Learning more about this update and how it can set you up for success, and there is a link there for how you can do that. And then there's just this little tidbit fact that they pulled out and have as an image in big font on the tweet, and it says, advertisers that switch from expanded text ads to responsive search ads using the same asset see an average of 7% more conversions at a similar cost per conversion. Okay, so before we get into everything about this, I just have to talk about that because I was like, okay, 7% more at a similar CPA? What is the CPA? Why won't you tell me what it is?
And is that statistically significant?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Isn't that much? And it's saying similar. So similar could be within 7%.
Yeah.
And it's also you switched. The whole verbiage is very strange.
And you got one fact to put on this tweet. Huge announcement, lots of retweets. This is the stat you picked. It was more than one person's decision, I have to imagine.
I'm sure it was a pretty large sample size though, right? 90 days or so?
Oh, we'll get there. So a lot of people agree with me. So Colin Slattery on Twitter @CJSlattery said, I do love how the percent more conversions is a precise number, but the cost delta is nebulous. Just another way for Google to take more ad dollars and deliver less value. Then Mike Ryan said, if conversions increase 7% at a similar cost for conversion, then it follows that costs increase 7%. Nice revenue bump for Google. @Mike Ryan Retail if you want to follow him. And then PPC Greg said, and is it actually just based on 10 days of data? Quote from that article, Google internal data, global, June 3rd, 2021 to June 12th, 2021. What?
Why?
These have been out for 3 years.
And that time frame, I'm like, why would they choose that time frame? I didn't notice it till that psycho PPC Greg looked at every letter on there. But it's from Thursday, June 3rd through the weekend, and then it ends on Saturday the 12th. It's that's just a abnormal 9-day period.
What was going on then?
Why would you choose 9 days with a full weekend and then part week? What? Why?
They could have chosen nothing. Nobody asked them to put that there.
How hard is it to say June?
The data probably didn't look good all of June.
Well, I feel this makes it look worse because not only is it only a 7% increase with no cost information, then you're sharing with us the sample size is that small?
It's across everything, it appears. So it's maybe a very large sample size because there's lots of Google Ads advertisers, but still, it's very strange.
There's no rhyme or reason. It's not the past 30 days.
Yeah.
It's just random 10 days.
So a lot of people had questions, and Ginny did say from her @Ads Liaison account, because people were making fun of this, that they said similar because they saw a 1.5% decrease change in CPA over that period of time. So she says,
which, if is true, Google needs to fire their entire PR team.
Because just put it in the tweet and then
That's a great stat!
Oh, yeah. It's a lower CPA. Why wouldn't you say
CPA.
a slightly lower CPA? Or
Yes.
if you didn't want to use a number because you didn't want to have two numbers, and they could have said slightly lower.
Mark, you're hired. Google PR.
it's just hidden in there and it's in the replies. People might not see that.
That is so important to the main stat that you're pitching people.
It's very bizarre. They just have such a optics problem. Just learn how to announce things. Okay.
But to Ginny's credit, and Ginny we trust, she brought the stats, she brought the numbers.
Yeah.
And I also think there was another great point. I think it was PPC Kirk. We've got a long, long time for this to happen.
Yeah.
So this isn't it's October or, November.
It's not the time they said, hey, good morning, your search terms are gone.
Oh, yeah. All right.
That was a year ago. Yeah. So, okay, let's get into our actual thoughts about this. First, we knew it was coming. Everyone's saying that. It was about a year ago now. We had that urgent marketing talk. One of the reasons being a bunch of people woke up in the morning and ETAs weren't in their accounts anymore. You couldn't add new ETAs. RSAs were the only option. So we felt like this was the writing on the wall. I feel like they saw all of us react to that that day and like knew it wasn't going to go well and like just pushed it off a year. It's been like exactly a year, right?
It's pretty close.
And nobody's happy about. Well, okay, we'll get into that. So this isn't as bad as some of the automated changes, in my opinion, that they pushed on us, because you can pin things, and that's very important. I have templates for RSAs where every single asset, this is pinned to position 1, this is pinned to position 2, this is position 3, and you can just upload them that way. That is an option to you, and it's just like rating ETAs if you're doing that. Julie Bacchini tweeted from her @NeptuneMoon Twitter account, have you all noticed that if you pin anything, your ad strength score is lower? I had one ad today that had pinned 2 headlines and I unpinned them and it went immediately from poor ad strength to average ad strength with no other changes. Not the only time I have seen this either. And a lot of people were saying that they've seen the same things in their accounts. And then Ginny popped in and clarified that ad strength is completely separate from quality score and it doesn't have any direct impact. Pinning can lower your ad strength rating as it reduces the number of combinations that the system can generate. But if you need to use pinning, they recommend doing multiple headlines in each position so that they will stay in that position, but different things can swap out and show. This gives the system more flexibility to find out what headlines and descriptions perform better. And this is the important part. Pinning does not impact quality score, only ad strength.
But for now.
Yes. And then Jess made a good point in Slack. It's like the only reason I'm okay with this is because you can pin. What happens when they say that that's just a suggestion? You know?
100%. And that's everybody always has these milquetoast takes where it's like, oh, well, we still have pinning. Oh, well, it's still working. And it's like, yeah, I get it. You can still do this now, but what do you think the next move is? And it's just so frustrating because at our core, I want it to do well. I want our clients to do better. And I want to use Google Ads and I want to give Google Ads more money. And I want to make sure what we put out there is accurate.
Yeah.
And it's just... Again, we saw it coming, not new, even though it's new, but still sad.
Yeah. And a lot of people were replying and they were really worried because ad customizers aren't available in all countries, like all the versions of all the ad customizers aren't. And then Jenny sent a link for how they can be compatible with RSAs, but it seems like they're not in all countries and we haven't gotten any clarification of if they're rolling out globally. So people are really upset about that too. And then the other concern here that we need to get into is the reporting thing, because Google promises that they're going to show the best combinations, but then they give us absolutely no data besides impressions to know what's performing best. They're just telling us they're showing us the best ones more, and we're going to have to trust. So Menamani from his @Menamani Twitter account says, I don't mind losing ETAs as much as I wish there were better reporting on the different events as RSAs. I completely agree.
Yep.
PPC Greg chimed in from his @PPC Greg Twitter account and said, we've seen slightly better performance the last few months from RSAs versus ETAs, but the bulk of our impressions still fall to ETAs almost 6-1. Agree with everyone else though. We need more stats for each ad set before we're sold. That's the other thing. I haven't been adding ETAs in every account because if you have ETAs and RSAs, your ETAs don't show. So it's like, what's the point at this point? So at least now, for now, we can add RSAs with every single thing pinned if we need to for compliance reasons. It seems like the only choice we have for now. If you want ETAs, you can add them until next year, and that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a little piece of me that's like not thinking Google is that bad, where it's like a little bit easier from like a platform perspective to only have one search ad type, and if you want an ETA, you can pin every single item.
Yeah. And then in the link they have in here, it says, most importantly, pair broad match keywords and smart bidding with responsive search ads. Disclaimer, I used to think this was crazy. I did a blog post this month about how we're testing broad match and it can work in some applications with target CPA. But that is crazy to act like any advertiser can pair 3 automated things and it's just going to work for anyone.
And like smart bidding, that's like saying, oh, I bought a car. It's like, it could be a truck, it could be a van, it could be a sedan, it could be a convertible. You're doing this with maximized clicks?
Terrible.
Yee!
Terrible.
Yikes. Doing this with maximized conversion value with target return on ad spend? Okay, good. Great. Grand. Wonderful. No,
but they don't say that, they just say smart bidding. Not all smart bidding is smart.
Most of it isn't.
So in conclusion, pin away, people. RSAs are here to stay.